Bentley at the 1. Bentley has an angle, and he's got just the kicker to beat. Bentley at the 30, the 25, the 15, a 99-yard kickoff return.
Over the top. Oh, stuffed by Bertrand. Yikes.
Now it's time for Illini Drive, your home on the way home for Illini sports every Monday at 6. Only on Champaign's Alternative, WPGU 107.1 FM.
Joey Gelman, host, Chicago, Illinois.
Steve Bourbon, co-host, St. Charles, Illinois.
Sam Sherman, co-host, Wilmette, Illinois.
Jeff Omer, social media guru, Naperville, Illinois.
Torrence Sorrell, producer, Shy City, baby.
Welcome into Illini Drive. This is your home on the way home for Illini Sports, and we are going to jump to the phone lines really quickly to start off the show. We're going to start with some baseball, and the breaking news of the day is Joe Maddon officially named the manager of the Chicago Cubs. So we head to the hotline here, and we welcome in Wayne Randazzo of 670 The Score to break it all down for us. Wayne, how are you?
Good, guys. How you doing?
Good, thank you. So starting off here, Maddon seemed to really win that press conference today, didn't he?
Yeah, I mean, it's always good to have a great start and to quote unquote win that press conference. You saw a lot of the philosophies of Joe Maddon. You saw a lot of the personality of Joe Maddon. You saw a lot of the things that not only endeared him to the Cubs, but to all of Major League Baseball. I mean, he's one of the top 3 to 5 managers in the game, and a guy that certainly made something out of what was seemingly nothing in Tampa. And here with the Cubs, you'll have all kinds of resources and already one of the top farm systems in baseball that is just about to send a lot of these great young players to the major leagues.
Well, I guess, Wayne, it seems like pretty much everything has been going up for the Cubs. Everything's kind of been trending up for them. I guess playing a little devil's advocate, and I guess it's not even devil's advocate, just looking at it from a different perspective. Is this it? I mean, is everything just going to be great for the Cubs going forward, or do you see there still being, realistically, some struggles ahead?
Well, it depends what you mean by struggles. Are they going to lose 90 to 95 games anytime soon again? I would be surprised to see it go in that direction. Is this a team that's going to challenge for a playoff spot in 2015? Maybe. I mean, it depends on what they do in the offseason and what those free agents bring and what kind of seasons you see out of Javier Baez or Jorge Soler or Chris Bryant. I mean, these are still human beings. They still have to go out and pitch and hit and play and develop and become the potential has to be tapped. And it's up to Joe Maddon and this crew to now get all of what they can out of these young players. I mean, there's no guarantees. What you want is a team that's going to be in the thick of things year in and year out, and I think they're much closer to that.
What kind of manager are the Cubs getting in a guy like Joe Maddon? I mean, it seems like he really is that perfect fit to kind of take this team to that next level and seems to have that aura, I guess, of the Cubs way and that kind of attitude to him.
Well, you heard Theo Epstein describe him as a really an old school guy, a guy who was a scout at one time, a guy who's grown up in the game, who played minor league ball in the 70s and has worked his way through the system of the Angels to become a coach, a minor league manager, an assistant coach, up to the major leagues as a bench coach, an interim manager, and finally getting his shot in Tampa 9 years ago. He almost got a shot in Boston. He was the runner-up to Terry Francona when he became the skipper of the Red Sox. But you heard Theo describe him as an old-school guy with a new-school mentality, and that combination is extremely difficult to find. And the Cubs have found it in Joe Maddon, and they're trying now to take advantage of the skills that he has as a clubhouse leader, as a tactician, as a sabermetrician, as an old-school baseball scout, and take what's really a perfect storm of qualities into what's already been a great major league manager and make them a guy who could be a champion.
Something that a lot of people liked that he was talking about in the press conference was sort of the mentality that he wants players to, think about their focus also on their lives outside of baseball. Can you talk a little bit about that sort of perspective that he takes to the game?
Yeah, I mean, it really speaks to me as somebody who's worked in professional baseball for 7 years now. It's the first thing I noticed when I started in pro ball in 2008 is that these guys are tireless every day. They're working extremely hard, and they work probably harder at times before the game than they do during the game. There's so much early work and taking ground balls and batting practice. There's a lot of sweat that is dripped out onto the field way before the game even starts, way before the gates open, and that people don't realize. And when you see fatigue come into play, or when you see the grind of the schedule, you know, Joe Maddon takes a philosophy that I wish more people in baseball did, that to give these guys some extra time. You don't have to bust them to come in at 1 o'clock for a 7 o'clock game every day. I've never been a believer in that. And Joe Maddon, it's refreshing to hear somebody of his stature say those things, because baseball, a lot of people believe that there's one way to do it, and there isn't. There are several ways to be able to get through a game, get through a season, and get through a postseason. You don't have to do it the way that they've been doing it since 1950. The game has evolved, and Joe Maddon is the type of guy who knows what it was like a long time ago, but can now evolve with the times.
Do you think it's kind of an issue of continuity at all? The fact that while, you know, Joe Maddon's probably the best fit for this job, and you really don't get an opportunity to get a guy like that every so often, but, you know, guys like Castro and Rizzo and others that have grown up in this system, to go from a guy like Swaim to then Renteria to then Maddon, does that hurt their development at all, the fact that they're having to kind of start over year in, year out?
No, I think continuity is overrated. You want continuity if Bobby Cox is your manager and you won 14 straight division titles. There's no reason to bust that up. But I mean, Dale Swaim, if anything, Starlin Castro and Anthony Rizzo regressed under Dale. Although he certainly had a great year as a hitting coach this year at the Royals, there was something about him as a manager where he was the complete opposite of Joe Maddon, where he did want those guys there early and did want to work them hard every day. Rick Renteria is a great guy, but as far as what you're looking for from a general in the locker room, in the clubhouse, a guy who's going to become a championship caliber manager, you know, this is the guy for the job. And continuity is something that you need if things are going great, and nothing has really gone great for the Cubs on the field in the last 3 years.
We're talking to Wayne Randazzo of 670 The Score. Nice enough to join us here. Break down the breaking news of Joe Maddon and the Cubs today.
Wayne, you being a member of the media, is this kind of an extra cool thing having a guy like Joe Maddon kind of enter into the Chicago sports scene?
I think it'll be refreshing, you know, to the beat reporters who are there every day covering the team. They're grinding it out too, and they have to talk to the manager. They talk to them before the game and after the game every day. So for those guys, you know, guys like Mark Gonzalez and Bruce Levine and the guys who are out there on a daily basis, I mean, it's going to be a refreshing thing. I mean, Ozzie Guillen was always great for a soundbite, and he was an interesting character to cover. And I think Joe Maddon will be that for the Cubs and be that for the media. But I mean, the media's job is to remain objective, and whether they like Joe or not, if the Cubs win, they'll sing his praises. If the Cubs don't, you know, you can ask Mark Trestman what happens when you don't win.
That's a good point. Yeah, and I guess that's something I was sort of thinking about today while watching that presser of, you know, here's a very, very likable guy, probably one of the most likable managers in the game, if not the most. So if things don't go so well for the Cubs under his management, I was sort of thinking to myself, I'm like, you know, is the Chicago media gonna then turn on him? But that is a pretty good comparison there to Mark Trestman, who a lot of people did like the initial hiring, but obviously, especially with recent developments, that's kind of changed a little bit.
Yeah, it's funny. Did you hear the name Bruce Arians much last year? I didn't.
Yeah.
I don't remember people clamoring that the Bears ruined it by hiring Mark Trestman when Bruce Arians was out there. But now the Arizona Cardinals have the best record in the NFC, and the Bears are in last place. And everybody's just pointing to Bruce Arians as the guy who should have been hired. I don't remember anybody saying that it was hands down Bruce Arians' job. When Trestman got hired, everybody thought that the Bears were doing something good. They were bringing in the quarterback whisperer. They were trying to resurrect Jay Cutler's career, and nobody said anything about Bruce Arians. But now that things have gone so south, Bruce Arians is now beloved.
You know, I saw something also today, just on Twitter, something about how there were reports or something about Theo Epstein getting his extension or whatever. Was there concern? I mean, was there ever a thought that he wasn't gonna get that, or was that just sort of just the news?
I mean, I think the way the plan is unfolded here, Tom Ricketts and Theo seem to have a great relationship, and this is really the big managerial hire for Theo. So it makes sense, a 5-year deal for Joe Madden, that Theo should be intertwined with Joe through that 5 years, and you give these guys these next 5 seasons through 2019 to, kind of do what they've said they're going to do, make this team a playoff contender year in and year out, win a lot of games, and chase a championship.
And I got to ask, at the end of that press conference, Madden was buying rounds of drinks for the reporters there. Did you make the list?
I was there, and I don't even know if I got out of there as soon as they were done. So I'm sure he was. I'm sure he followed through on what he said he was going to do.
We'll have to grill him on that later. And then just looking at the World Series a little bit, come and gone already, if we can believe it's already November. Are we going to see another performance like we saw from Bumgarner this postseason?
You never know. You just got to play the games. I mean, whatever Madison Bumgarner did was heroic for the Giants. It's something that playoff baseball can kind of allow. Bumgarner pitched the last game of the NLCS, the first game of the World Series, the 5th game of the World Series, and the 7th game of the World Series because of the way the schedule fell, and he threw more innings than anyone in postseason baseball. You saw Clayton Kershaw dominate the National League in the regular season. In the playoffs, he couldn't get it done, and Bumgarner, who's not nearly the dominating factor that Kershaw is, a guy who rolled through October with one of the most memorable postseason performances of all time. It was a terrific thing to watch. It was unfortunate for the Royals that they ran into a guy like Bumgarner at that time because they were trying to do something that they hadn't done in many, many, many years. So it's a testament to the Giants. They continue to push these great players through their system, continue to be in the running every year, and they've won the World Series 3 times. That doesn't mean the Cubs will win the World Series 3 times in a 5-year span, but it does mean that if you do have a good farm system, if you do have the right manager in place and the right executives to make these decisions, that you can sustain that success as we've seen San Francisco do, St. Louis, we're starting to see the Pirates do it, and Kansas City. They have the challenges of trying to keep the team together with the payroll situation, but the Royals have a great nucleus in place, and there's no reason to think they can't continue to win games.
Well, Wayne, we really appreciate the time. Thanks for jumping on, and nice to talk baseball, even when the World Series is over. Baseball seems to never be over, as we got some exciting news on the north side today, and what should be a busy offseason for the Cubs and all of baseball. So thank you for joining us. We appreciate it.
All right, guys. Thanks.
That's Wayne Randazzo of 670 The Score. Follow him at Wayne Randazzo. And as we head to break here, and I apologize, we didn't do the propers before, so Joey Gelman alongside Steve Bourbon, Sam Sherman, social media guru Jeff Omer is somewhere in the building, and producer Torrence Sorrell. So that was Wayne Randazzo joining us there to talk some baseball. Next up, very special guest in studio as we have Champaign Mayor Don Gerard coming on, talk a little Illinois basketball and maybe some fun trick-or-treat stories from the weekend. You're listening to Illini Drive on Champaign's Alternative, WPGU 107.1.
This is Will Leach. You are listening to Illini Drive on WPGU. And now go shave your head like John Gross.
I'm Don Gerard, and I approve this message.
Welcome back to Illini Drive. This is your home on the way home for Illini Sports. And you can follow us on Twitter at Illini Drive. Text line is up and running as well. 217-337-1071, 217-337-1071. And as the bump coming back from the break suggested, we do have Champaign Mayor Don Gerard in studio. How are you?
I am You dug deep into the archives for that soundbite. It's been a while. Yeah, I'm fantastic. Thanks. We were just the boy and I geared up, had a little meal right before while we were waiting there from who sponsors the show?
Whoever you want.
I don't know. Yeah.
We're still searching, so if you want one.
Whoever advertises, we just had a delicious meal from whomever's going to advertise
we'll just
on
fill
this
it in
show
later.
coming up. Yes, exactly.
So Don Gerard in studio with his son Will, a fun duo to have here. And when we have Don Gerard in, it can only mean one thing: basketball season starts.
All right.
So starting off, what are your expectations here for Illinois basketball?
You know, I'm one of those guys. My brother's an economist. He likes to crunch the numbers, and I think with the shooting percentages of the guys they have coming in with that defense, if Nana lives up, Gross is the real deal. I think they could sneak in and be a little bit better than predicted. But you know, the whole Big Ten, everybody's like 7-9, right? Like there's like 15 teams that are 7-9, and then that's about it.
Yeah, it's really just Wisconsin at the top, and after that, it's like. Who really knows? You know, before we get like full into Illinois basketball, there's another Illinois sport that we won't talk too much about that is going on now. Well, there's a couple, but we got football, which of course I'm talking about. Have you given up at this point on our football team?
Given up to what extent? I always root for the homes. I'll root for the team. I root for the kids. It's unfortunate. It's you know they ran into a wrecking machine this week. So what are you going to do? No, you know, it's week after week. Get out there, small victories. It's going to take some time. It's tough. You know, they just don't have the horses, and we'll have to see. It was homecoming was great. That was really exciting. I mean, that was a high point of the season, I think. But yeah, it's rough. It's really rough when you don't got your quarterback, and they need to put it together. What do you think? I want to turn over to my son Will. What do you think,
Will, come on board.
I don't know what to say.
What do you think? I mean, is the season? Let's just say, do you think that there's still a legitimate shot for a bowl game?
Well, yeah, of course.
Yeah, you think so?
Always the optimist. I like it.
Yeah, we need more of those in here.
I would like to toss in, not to bring things down too much, but Will's the manager for the student manager. He plays in the the Champaign Central baseball team, and he's student manager for the Champaign Central basketball team. So, like, just a little shout out to the McLean family. It was really a fantastic celebration of Coach McLean's life. He was certainly a big part of Illinois basketball, and in the 1 year he was at Central, he really turned things around. Took him to the Sweet 16. Really, just a remarkable individual, and we wish the best to former Illini Sergio McLean, who'll be filling in there, and Will's going to be out there handling the clipboard and watching the films and helping them try to win a few games this year.
Yeah, we were going to bring that up. I mean, just in your experience, what kind of has been, Don, your relationship as well as with Will? I mean, being at the school, being firsthand with that basketball team, how big was McLean for that program, and just how unfortunate it is that loss?
Oh, I'm definitely really unfortunate. He brought in a major culture change. Really a lot of positive energy. Made everyone feel like they were a winner. But at the same time, too, I mean, Sergio's a great guy, and I think that if there's anyone else who his dad would have wanted, it would have been him. So we'll see what happens this year. I think a lot of good things.
Yeah, I was friends with Sergio, and and Wayne was always nice to me when I visited their house. I wasn't really friends with him, but just the impact that he made on that team and how they produced on the court, and just hearing Will talk about him, it just really was a reflection of what an incredible individual he was. So
it's always it seems like it's after people pass on that you start to hear a lot of these stories, and it's a shame that that's how it is. But of course, when he did, there were some really amazing stories that had come out about him and his life and everything. And so, if to the silver linings that people that may not have known these things before kind of begin to know all those things.
I was telling people, my son he's a pretty privileged kid. You talk about the kids who grew up who didn't have fathers, and he was a father figure, this or that. But the man made a huge impact. I could tell on my son, who wants for very little, and when you're that type of an individual to really reach, really impact everybody, it says a lot. So he's right up there with when I was, Coach Tommy Stewart from Champaign Central was a legend. There were some really legendary folks who have come through this town, and he was one of them.
And Will, what are the expectations this year for Central? What do we have to look forward to?
Oh, expect nothing less than last year. Just build on the legacy, right?
Mm-hmm.
We got a really good team coming in this year. A lot of the same guys coming back, so expect a lot of success. Win a lot of ball games. Hopefully beat up on those crosstown rivals over there. We don't speak about too
that
much.
team over there.
Yeah.
It's like the Northwestern.
Yeah, exactly. Same expectations, man.
Yeah, I'm really optimistic, and I like I said, I think if anybody can carry on that legacy at Sergio. And I tell you what, man, it was the same bunch of guys from the year before. Same thing with who's the coach that came in for football, Will?
Coach Alba.
Yeah, I mean, these guys were like winless last year, and then they made the playoffs this year. So huge. And I think a lot of that came from the basketball season last year. You know, people kind of coming into the season saying, we're not going to be very good. And then you knock off Centennial, you know, and then you lose to them, and then you meet them again in the playoffs, and you bump them when everyone was picking them to be playing in the finals. So, yeah, it was a good experience. I'm excited, really excited for Illini basketball. Let's talk some Illini hoops real quick here.
Yeah, well, they've got a lot of new guys that guys who sat out last year are going to be playing this year. Some freshmen that are going to be playing. Some very exciting returning players. Who are a couple names that you're looking out for this season?
You know, obviously Starks, but as Will was saying, that we're going to... What was it you told me? What were we going to find out?
I'm looking forward to seeing Malcolm Hill this year. I think this is the year for him. I watched a little bit of that scrimmage, and he seemed like his confidence level was off the charts, knocking down some shots.
Obviously, I watched the scrimmage and read way too much into it. I made all my season predictions based off it. But yeah, Malcolm Hill was phenomenal, and another guy that looked good was LaRon Black. I mean, both those guys playing the four... looked at, stretched the floor, and LaRon really just rebounded everything. I mean, he was an animal on the glass.
And that was kind of his reputation, so the fact that kind of translates, at least when he plays his own team, that hopefully that says something for him. But yeah, I mean, you mentioned Starks. Obviously, no one liked to see Tracy go down with the ACL injury. But by all accounts and just reports, it looks like Starks might be able to fill the spot, pretty well.
Well, yeah, and I think that, this year coming around, you'll have that Ravonte Rice is now he's a threat. Now he's a top guy. And I'll tell you what, you really get a measure of a guy. A couple of years ago in the Champaign-Urbana days, they have a tournament and they have, guys play or whatever. And I coached against his mother. So you really get an indication of how tough a guy is when you coach a team against his mother. So, she was tough. So, no, I think they got to, and... It's sort of like what we saw at Central, just with Gross. He's the real deal, man. He makes those guys believe and buy in, and they'll take a bullet for him. It's amazing. So,
it's interesting with Rayvonte. I always think back to the game. I think it was against UNLV last year, and Doug Gottlieb was calling that game. And I remember I was watching that, and I was just getting enraged because he kept saying, well, this was kind of early in the game. He's going, yeah, exactly. I can't get as high as Gottlieb does. But he was talking to me, and I'm sure you guys remember. He was just like, oh yeah, Rayvonte's been doing some good things in non-conference, but he's gonna learn once he gets in, with the big boys what it's like. And I'm just thinking, and I think he scored 28 points in that game, and I think that's people know now, like you said, he is that threat that he's the real deal.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes coming out, you got five guys on the floor. Different, something can happen every night. You got to get to there. It's all about matchups, but a big part of the matchup, I think, is the psychological game. And when you come out and you start getting in your head thinking about stuff, all of a sudden it opens up. If some of those other guys start getting some open shots, and if Nano just plays really tough, he had a pretty sweet stroke, didn't he? Wasn't he knocking down some threes?
They're gonna have him shoot threes.
I like him shooting. Everyone boos, but shoot, Nano. If you're listening, I know you're listening, so. Shoot.
They just need guys this year that can stretch the floor, because what bogged them down last year, especially in Big Ten play, was Rice and then Nunn would just try and drive, and they would collapse everyone in around them. But the big difference this year is you've got Starks and Cosby, both are 40% three-point shooters. If you have to respect them from the arc, that's just going to open things up for those other guys.
Well, there's along with Rayvonte, there's another local guy who's joining the team, and Michael Finke. What can you tell us about this guy? Is he going to make an impact this year?
Okay, we'll see here if my son is he going to talk smack, or is he going to...
Oh, yeah, see, that's an interesting... I won't say where he's from, but he's...
I don't know. I'm not sure how many minutes he'll get this year, but he's definitely a really good shooter. I could see him definitely serve as that Tyler Griffey sort of role later on in his career with the shot he has. He's got really good fundamentals, obviously, so he's a lot of intangibles that you can't teach.
I love it. You're not getting too excited. You're saying, well, I guess he's a good shooter.
Yeah, what I saw with him, and I remember not to get too crazy here, but when we were hiring a new police chief, one of the guy who we wound up hiring was from Champaign, and he was a deputy chief over at Urbana. And sometimes there's conventional wisdom is you don't want the hometown guy, like the Cubs not getting everyone, let's get Rhino, but you don't want him because you don't want him to fail. So sometimes. But I think working the other direction, it also it gives the community sort of an anchor because he's from here, his family is here, they have lots of friends here. His father is an Illini legend, not necessarily legend, but his father was very good and very present, and he's certainly present in the athletic program. So I think that was a good. Even before he steps foot on the court, it's a really good move for Gross to sort of welcome himself to the community and have inroads. Because, that's the thing I see about Gross is not since Self we have had someone who's out there all the time. I mean, when I was walking the kids to Southside Elementary School, Gross is on his bicycle with his boys, and he's riding his bike up. And I don't know, he does not live close, so I don't know how far he rode. But he's out there. He's got his kids are in school here. He's excited about the community. So I think that makes a huge difference. That's when you get that sixth man on the court. That's when you get people really excited. The students are awesome, but the other 10,000 folks in the hall.
Well, another guy that's out there I see everywhere is Matt Ballant for women's basketball. He is putting in major work just around the community, and I know they start on Saturday. I'll be announcing the game. Shameless plug. But I mean, I see that guy everywhere.
Oh yeah, he's tremendous, and it's a brave new world with the social networks and everything, and and he's totally. You'll see him all over the place, and he's really engaged, and these guys they're doing a great job. It's good for the community, it's good for the program. I think I won't mention any names, but the guy whose name is last in the alphabet that rhymes with book. You never saw him anywhere. I would get my buddy would give me tickets that were like really good tickets that were next to his tickets at the Illinois basketball games. Never in the two empty seats. The two empty seats the whole season. So, it was not that kind of guy. He did not like to be out in the community. You just wouldn't see him. The Self was the opposite. You'd see Self buying around at the Esquire or whatever, and really getting out and just really enjoyed mingling. And these guys, Ballin and Gross, are just like that. So I think it's huge.
It's great. It's just great to see. It's like a big culture change. You see these guys come in and embrace everything around them, and it seems to be working. Whether that translates on the court, we're still starting to see that. But it's just nice to see they've really just immersed themselves into what Illinois basketball is, both women's and men's, and Champaign-Urbana.
Give you the edge in close games with the crowd, and also it's a matter of expectations too. You have your team that just you want to keep rooting for them. I mean, that other sport that you were talking about, you have a hard time. It's hard, it's hard to drag yourself out there. It's hard to turn on the TV and invest time in it. But when you have that feeling, when you feel good about it, and they're competing, I think that psychologically that's a great thing. That's when people really start buying it, and you have a basis for just a historic type program.
It's amazing. I mean, because what is Gross entering? He's going to be entering his third season now.
Yeah.
This is year 3, and he's become a hero. Throughout the university and everything. And you think usually these sort of fan bases latching onto a coach like this and really showing that kind of support would come maybe years into a program, but he's just got it, and I think that kind of goes in a little bit to why he's been able to pull in some pretty good recruits so far. But I don't want to say a knock, but one thing that people have been wondering is when is he going to get that 5-star guy to come in? So what have you thought about that in terms of like the guys he's been able to get?
I'd rather him take a 3-star guy and turn him into a first rounder. You saw that with Self's guys coming in with having the 3 guys go in the first round for the NBA after Bruce took over the team. But those were Self's guys, and he had a big part of that. And not to discredit Bruce, but those guys came through. And the thing about Gross too is I'm not as worried about him like looking for the next job either. People have asked me about that, and I said, like on Media Day last year or whatever, when someone was knocking the city of Champaign, he was like, "Hey, I love Champaign. We got a great mayor. We got a great downtown. It's a cool place." I mean, to me that speaks volumes, and when you feel that when people give him that love back, then he's built upon all that. But I'm not too worried about I'd rather have a guy come play 3-4 years and develop and get better and better.
Well, that's the thing with a lot of these guys. I mean, they're one and done. Look at Kentucky. Every single year, they've got 8 new guys on the floor. I mean, I think there's something to be said for getting top 40 or top 50 guys that will be there for 4 years, because that's how you build a program. Yeah, that's how Purdue did it, right?
Yeah, we got a
Purdue. That's an old reference now, a dated reference.
I think, and in terms of a guy looking for the next job, I think that it's been a little bit, but people maybe forget that Illinois, the Illinois basketball it's a pretty good job. And if you can get, if you can bring them back to what they've been, and not too long ago, that's a great job. And so I think that it's a little bit jumping the gun to say, well, there's something better out there. Because first of all, those things don't open up all the time. And second, where he is, I think he's pretty happy.
Yeah, we had a couple guys there. Long Kruger, he got a better. It wasn't his thing. He wasn't all that into it or whatever. He wanted to move on to the next level and have that opportunity. Bill Self, the one job that would take him away, offered. It was the one job. If they wouldn't have offered, they hire someone else. We just still had Bill Self to this day. I truly believe that. So nice. But I think Gross could be that guy. He's a young guy too. I just, I'm astonished. Shows my age. The Illinois basketball coach is younger than me. So.
Well, so bottom line here, both of you predictions, tournament team, yes, no?
Yeah, I think tournament team. It'll be definitely tough with the loss of Abrams because I think people don't appreciate what he did last year.
Definitely agree.
He brought a lot to the court. But if this team can make the NCAA tournament, I think it's a successful season. Yeah, maybe make a little run.
I would be shocked if they weren't. I don't think this is a bubble team. I think that these guys, I think they may be underrated, but I think when they get out on their court, they have the intangibles that are going to push them past, and they're going to win them enough games to really be solid, just a solid tournament team.
And really quick, before we go to break here, we're talking with Champaign Mayor Don Gerard and Will Gerard, the dynamic duo in studio here. I got to ask, any good Halloween stories from the weekend?
I had a great Halloween. My birthday is on Halloween,
yeah.
so yeah.
Double dip a little bit.
Oh yeah, I turned around and and yeah, I went out Gomez Adams and had my Morticia with me. Went and saw Sun Stereo at on Saturday nights at the Canopy, and that was really fantastic. It was a pretty good night. I don't think there's anything too crazy. How about you, Will? Anything?
No, nothing in particular. It was a pretty good night, I guess. It's a little cold.
What'd you dress up as?
I didn't dress up as anything on that night, but actually earlier on in the week, I kind of take pride in it. I dressed up like Stu from The Hangover. Perfect. I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah.
There we go.
He wont like this. I'm gonna tweet out some pictures when he was, I think, 10 or 11. He dressed up like Bruce Weber. I'm gonna post those to the Illini Drive.
You
Twitter.
can't ever let that down. Yeah, you have to keep. That's good. Yeah.
It's good. It's great.
In like 10 years, when Illinois is walking off the court after they're cutting down the nets after winning the national championship, you gotta just show bring that picture back up.
Bust them out.
Yeah. So I guess if your birthday is on Halloween, then you can kind of like be eating candy and. You can be like, well, this is for my birthday. No, it's for Halloween. No, it's for my birthday.
And do you do candy and cake?
Yeah, that's
how does that work?
Somebody baked me a cake that had 2 candy bars baked into it.
Oh, wow.
Insane.
Okay. What kind of candy bars were in there?
I have no idea. The kind that have made me like fatter already. And it made me go out and buy larger pants the next day.
You're like, whatever it was, it tasted
so good. Yeah. Hey, thank you guys so much for having us on. This is
thanks for coming on.
You got another guest coming on now, or are we the headliners?
No, you guys are the headliners for the day. Do we have time? Do we have to go to break right now?
We do have to go to break.
Yeah,
afterwards and hang a little more. We're gonna just complain and moan about Illinois football, which you guys are good at too.
I know that you happen to be a Cub fan.
Oh yeah,
yeah, and so the Cubs brought in a pretty good manager, and I'd like to get your thoughts on that.
That's what I hear.
Well, we'll do that. We'll do that right after this break. We have Don Gerard and Will Gerard, the mayor of Champaign, and maybe the future mayor of Champaign, in studio with us. Drive on Champaign's Alternative, WPGU 107.1.
Hey, this is Matt Spiegel from 670 The Score. You're listening to Illini Drive on WPGU 107.1, Mondays at 6.
Welcome back into Illini Drive, your home on the way home for Illini Sports. Remember, interact with the show. Tweet at us at Illini Drive. Text in 217-337-1071, 217-337-1071. We're going to shift gears as you heard those highlights or lowlights from the Illinois football game this weekend, and we still are glad to be joined in studio by Champaign Mayor Don Gerard and his son, Will Gerard. Illinois falls to Ohio State, as expected, 55-14. Mikey Dudek, the bright spot in that one, breaks the Illinois receiving record.
Mikey!
For a freshman, but other than that, it's kind of what we expected, like I said, but it got a little uglier too.
Yeah, Sam and I made the trip out there, so we witnessed that firsthand.
Mm-hmm.
In other news, the Ohio State Stadium is cool. The press box was cool.
Yeah,
the food was
good.
They
treated us nicely there. The food. Can we talk about the food for a second? Because there's nothing really to talk about in the game, to be honest. The food there was tremendous. They had like hot dogs. I mean, well, sorry, I don't know why I led with the hot dogs. But
Yeah, that's like the baseline.
They had these. What was it? Pulled pork.
They had pulled pork, chicken breast, and hot dogs.
And
But
coleslaw, salads.
Not only pregame, halftime as well.
Yeah.
So we got seconds within seconds.
Was that for the press people or
The-
just
yeah.
in the
It was
general?
it was for at first I was like, this couldn't be for us, and then it was. And they have a table set up. We'll get to Illinois football in a second, but they have a table
this is
set
much
up
more interesting.
with McDonald's smoothies and
the McCafe.
McCafes all night. It was amazing.
Unlimited. Wow. It was great.
Yeah, and
I
you
needed it.
you kept saying to me, you're like, I hope you're going to continually go back for seconds and thirds.
Well, I
because-
didn't want to be judged for keep going for more food. Like, I needed a wingman.
No, the food was excellent.
Yeah, but they're not going to see you again. You could have
Probably need
stole
a
everything.
anyway, really.
Oh yeah, no, seriously. Like it was a rough game, but it was expected, so it didn't really feel like anything crazy.
The one thing I took away from it was we finally got our chance to see Aaron Bailey for what he actually is. And everyone, including me, has been, hammering at the door saying, let's play Aaron Bailey. And some of the passes he threw, he just were not close at all.
Yeah.
He turned the ball over. He had a fumble. Was able to move the ball a little bit in garbage time, but for a while it was just brutal for the offense.
There was a moment there, and I remember it. He was like he kind of scrambled out of the pocket and then started to get taken down. And instead of throwing it away or just going down, he kind of just flipped. It looked like something Jay Cutler would do. He just kind of threw it down, and you turned to me and you said, "Oh, that's why Aaron Bailey's not in the game more." But it's a shame because you see him like when he gets going and they're running the options and he's running a little bit and he can fly out there and he's strong and he can break through tackles, but throwing is that real concern that they
issue.
Yeah. A little bit.
Yeah, and when your other two backs combine for what, like 59 yards rushing or something?
Doesn't happen.
Well, yeah, they're a one-dimensional offense, but without West Lunt, they can't pass.
Mm-hmm.
So,
They were kind of hoping he was going to be playing a little bit more this year. But yeah, so like you said, that would be a takeaway. Another takeaway though is, Mikey Dudek is a really good wide receiver. What have you guys thought about?
We both smiling over there.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's exciting to watch. Makes a lot of plays. One of the few bright spots out there, really.
Mm-hmm. It's cool to see, the teams that offered him. It was like 2 or 3, I think. It was like Illinois, North Dakota, and maybe someone else. I forget.
Yeah.
And it's like, how did more people not know about this
He wasn't
guy?
on the radar going into the season, and then all of a sudden he's like the one bright spot we're all looking for.
Seriously.
One guy making plays out there.
Yeah.
I'm also doing a story on him this week. Shlam's plug Thursday. Pick
You
it
guys
up.
are the worst.
I didn't talk the whole show. I had to say that part.
That's true.
But yeah, he broke Aurelius Ben's freshman receiving record. He turned out to be pretty good, so I'm looking forward to 3 more years of Mikey Dudek.
Yeah, seriously.
If nothing else.
If nothing else.
But in Sam's column last week, it looked like we were getting 3 more years of Tim Beckman, and after that, I don't think that's happening.
All I was saying, I don't. The only thing I was saying in the thing I wrote was that I think that after and this includes the Ohio State loss because I was assuming that to happen. That after that Minnesota homecoming win, you get a win like that, maybe you buy yourself some time to at least, well, if they can maybe get the 5 wins or 6 wins and get to a bowl game, well, that's improvement. And then you got to think that he's got his job at least for at least another season, or I guess to the end of his current contract. But that's what I was saying. And then you guys all spun it as though I was saying.
And then you started talking about program-changing wins and went down to this whole thing.
Sam, did that guy ever tweet you back?
No, he did not. But I did get an angry email based on that.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Had no less than 5 question marks asking if he was seriously backing Tim Beckman.
Yeah, he was saying I don't even know. The guy was not happy that I was saying that maybe they should hold on to him.
Well, Bill Cubit, real deal?
Yeah.
Yeah, good stuff.
Absolutely.
At least offensively.
Yeah, defense.
It's hard when you.
It's hard when I know it's hard.
Yeah.
And it's a weird. Like you talk about these things, like you talk about Mikey not, Dudek not being on the radar with anyone. Well, it's a weird age. This guy's sprouted up. He's taller than me now.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't taller than me like yesterday.
That's
so,
good of you.
Things change, and so when you got the young guys, it's like from year to year, how much are they going to grow? How much stronger are they going to get? How much more focused are they going to get? It's really hard to pick. It's like going back to the Illini basketball thing. That's the thing I get excited about them is that every day it's a matchup, every day it's a game, and it's not the pros. It's more you're putting in guys and they're a known quantity. But who saw Ray Rice? Or Ravonte Rice do that? I mean, who saw him doing that, and who saw him on the radar to be in the NBA when he was playing? He is. He was in one. He made one of those lists.
One of the mock drafts.
Guys, yeah,
wow.
Somewhere in the after 100, but still, he was in there.
And that kind of that's what makes me think about with Illinois football is like it is still a young team, and I kind of wonder. I'm like, well, what if Tim Beckman has sort of something up his sleeve with the not even up his sleeve. Maybe it just takes more than 3 years, which I do think that in college football it does take more than that. Unfortunately, for a lot of coaches, that's not how much time you get. But I just wonder that if you give him maybe a year or maybe 2 more years just to see and kind of make sure that if a lot of people think that he's not going to be able to be the guy going forward, that is in fact the case.
But my problem with Beckman and his teams, especially this year, is I get that you have a young team and that the talent is nowhere near to the 5 stars of Ohio State, but there's still so much other just stupid things that they do as a team. I don't think I've thought this year that Illinois is a well-coached team. Like Jerry Kill and Minnesota, they don't have. I wouldn't say they have more talent than Illinois, but they're 6-2.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if Tim Beckman's the coach of the future. If he gets to a bowl game, he definitely deserves another year, no question about it. But there's just they can't cut out turnovers. They had penalties at the worst possible times. Even in the Minnesota win, they had a penalty on the last punt that extended the game. I mean, it's just stuff like that just hamstrings you when you're already so far behind some of these other teams in the Big Ten.
Since I'm in the room with experts. I was doing the math. I was doing the math in my head, and I don't know. Maybe I don't understand football, but don't you just take a knee 3 times at the end of that homecoming game? What happened?
See, well, maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah. I don't know. You guys tell me.
Let me see. They did the running play and then got called for holding.
Yeah.
So then that stopped the clock, and that screwed everything up.
I
don't know. I think if you run a play, then it's like 2 more seconds than taking a knee.
But
I don't know.
It's those sort of things that I've noticed throughout the season that I do agree with you, Steve, where there's just been things where it's like there are, again, I'm not a football coach. I don't know I could live forever studying football. I still probably wouldn't know close to what Beckman knows about the game. But there's certain things where it's just like, I don't think that's what you're supposed to do in that situation.
Like burning Aaron Bailey's red shirt against Wisconsin.
It's just like, it's
in the sink.
Yeah, and we were joking that maybe they were going to burn Crouch's red shirt.
Burn them all.
Just burn everything.
Burn them all.
I like Manberg. I'm sorry. I'm still going to stick with that as your backup. Yeah, your backup.
I'm old enough to remember when they went to the Rose Bowl my freshman year, actually 1980. Well, it was 84, but the 83 season, and that was when Mike White he brought in those JUCO guys, and there's a difference. I never realized this, but a lot of those JUCO guys maybe they've not been in school for a while, been somewhere else working out, getting tough, and then they're coming back and they're in their late 20s, someplace where they're lifting a lot of weights or something, and they come back, and when you talk about a guy who's in his late 20s, who's maybe had a harder life, playing against some kid who's coming out of Morton or something, an 18-year-old out of Peoria, whatever, Manual, it's a different. That's men and boys. That's like what you saw this weekend.
But you've seen the success from that with JUCOs, whether it's a Jihad Ward, whether it's a Geronimo Allison. There is the talent there, and Beckman seeming to have untapped that. Just it hasn't seemed to transit on the actual recruiting trail for these other teams.
I think you just got to bring in a slew of those guys, and you got to start, making a name. It's tough, and it's tough. I mean, it's really, you see that with Gross. I mean, I think Champaign's a pretty great place to come to, but it's a different world. Recruiting's a different world right now. So you really got to bring in the guys, got to get the horses somehow.
It's always a dangerous job when you're relying on the intentions of 17-year-olds.
Yeah. That's what I always find amazing.
Do we have any 17-year-olds? Oh, wait, here's one.
Do we have any really athletic 17-year-olds?
Well, no, I got a question then. I mean, so when you see these guys on Twitter, like we saw it recently, obviously, with like Elijah Thomas and stuff, would you see yourself doing that if you were in the same situation?
No, probably not. I mean, Illinois, that's my dream school right there. But of course, it makes sense. Just a bunch of kids.
Just to mess around.
You're in the public spotlight. Everything you're doing is super analyzed by like 40-year-old men who sit on their laptops on message boards all day.
It's true. I mean, as much as I like to think that I'd be, I guess better than that of messing around with people. I don't know, because you have so many people who really, really care about.
It's amazing.
Is so high.
Yeah, so maybe you would just mess around.
It's a job field though, reporting on recruiting. I mean, it's amazing, and the fact you see like a high school cube Jalen Brunson announcement streaming, and it says there's 40,000 views. It's like, what's going on here that we're paying this much attention to one kid's college decision? It's amazing.
Yeah.
Wish people cared that much about me. That'd be nice.
Yeah. I was gonna say I've got 1 year of eligibility left. I'm opening up my recruitment.
I'll sign you up for intramurals this year. We need you. We need height.
Yeah, at the bare minimum, I'm 6'4".
Get a really good Twitter handle, get your hashtag, and we'll get you rolling on that.
There we go.
Cubbies, man. Can we talk Cubbies?
Yes, we can.
Absolutely.
Got a few minutes left here, and
Now,
Joe Madden, the hire of the day.
Yeah. I guess I want to start by saying I'm a White Sox fan, but I just everyone's like, "Why are you saying that?" We're talking about the Cubs. I'm a Sox fan, and so I'd like to think that doesn't totally affect the way that I feel about this hire. First of all, I think it's a great hire for the Cubs. I think it's exactly what they had to do. But today, on social media, and everyone's talking about the Cubs like they've suddenly become like the best team in baseball, and I just wonder. I mean, from your perspective, is there still that thing kind of hanging over their heads of, well, it's still the Cubs, and there will still be, yes, it's going in the right direction, but maybe there will still be some issues.
I think what people are seeing is the Red Sox model. You're seeing that all queue up very nicely, and so you get very hopeful about it. The thing I'm hopeful about it is, we saw the last time they went around where they just bought the players and spent the tons of money, and then all of a sudden you got, Alfonso Soriano for the better part of my adult life. So to me, it's like, got the young kids that'll be moving around. It's opportunity. You don't. There's money to spend. Yeah, opportunity is what I'm excited about. It's like it seems like they're more fluid. This, like I said, it's not these horrific. You're not saddled by a horrific decision in a huge contract because you got all these young players that you're going to be shuffling around and moving around, and they don't have their time in yet. So they're all hungry, and so we'll see.
But for baseball, as a fan who pretty much only tunes in October, I feel like the manager of the 4 major sports does the least in baseball. I mean, I could manage a team for the first 6 innings. I mean, until you get into the bullpen, I mean, I'm not sure how much does a really good manager actually help you. Anyone who actually knows baseball.
Yeah. Champaign Central varsity left-handed pitcher Will Gerard.
I guess there's some logic there. I don't know. You see some. I mean, there are the same few managers who make it to the playoffs. There's got to be something there.
That's a good point.
I think it's mental. I think it's more of, instead of the X's and O's, because that doesn't really exist in baseball, it's more of
winning mentality.
Yeah, and the player-manager relationship. So Torrence got a quick tweet in here. Question.
Yeah, we have a tweeter asking a question. Oh my God. At Matt Tennenhouse, he wanted to know, asking us, what are the expectations for Cubs with Joe Madden, and how much of a difference does a manager truly make?
Well, yeah,
That's what I just asked.
we kind of were answering that second part of that, but I guess expectations. I'll try and put as much of my biases aside right here, but I think that for Cub fans and really for the organization, I think that at least the organization's expecting contention next season, and that's going to obviously depend a lot on who they sign in the offseason because there's a lot of big names out there to be signed. I think that if they get some of those guys that are on their list, I think that right on the border of playoff contention is a possibility.
Well, I think you have to look at it very, very rationally or realistically. You got young players who are very good, very talented, a lot of potential. You got a really good manager, and they finally gotten rid of those unlucky bleachers by tearing them all out. So I think the unlucky bleachers could be the real linchpin towards the pennant.
That's what was holding them back.
I think it was holding them back. I think it was something in those bleachers. Yes, absolutely.
I mean, if there's another season of them losing 90 games, I mean, that's a severe disappointment.
Yeah.
Right? I mean,
Yes.
they have to at least be.
They should be competing at least.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
over 500.
And I mean, there were parts of this season where they were showing, they went on a few runs, and even in that in itself has got to be nice to see from fans and the organization, just to say that, well, we didn't even have, don't even talk about Joe Madden for a second. Even with the guys that they had, the young guys that they were kind of throwing out there and seeing what they could do, were able to do some interesting things out there. But I'm sorry, as a Sox fan, it's scary because for the longest time, my dad and I, we're always our biggest fear is that the Cubs will win the World Series, and our plan obviously is then to move to Canada. We've talked about that for a long time, but
Start looking.
It seems like
you hope.
It seems like they're going in the right direction, and it's we're meanwhile on the South Side they're stuck with Robert Ventura.
It's Chris Sale and a lot of.
They just got rid of Adam Dunn, so
I feel like that's a plus.
No, it is. I'm saying, yeah, at least they're kind of slowly going in that direction.
I know we're done. Adam Dunn's story. So this, we took the tour of Wrigley Field, and they tell the stories when Adam Dunn was with the Reds. I guess he used to come in, and he had this one ball. No, it wasn't a bat. Well, maybe it was a bat boy. But he would have him go over to McDonald's and buy him 5 cheeseburgers before every game. And he'd put like 3 in his mitt,
right.
1 in his pocket. He'd be eating one as he went onto the field. But then he had a strength manager. I'm talking really fast. Get this over. Got a strength manager come in and say, or a nutritionist or something, told the kid, you can't get any more hamburgers. You can't do this anymore because the guy's on a strict diet. And so Dunn comes in. He tells the kid, he's like, dude, I'll give you, whatever. He offered him a ton of money. He's like, I can't. I really can't. I'm sorry. So Dunn, in his Red Sox uniform, walks across the street. Cincinnati Reds uniform, walks across the street to McDonald's and buys 5 cheeseburgers himself.
That's awesome.
I think Sam and I are going to start doing that before the show.
yeah. Just have them in different pockets and stuff like that.
Whenever I see Adam Dunn, I just think of him as like with 5 McDonald's cheeseburgers walking onto the field.
Yeah, he if there was anything to be said about Adam Dunn, it's that he is one of those guys who, he's like a classic kind of just a slugger, just a big dude who just mashes.
Eats a bunch of cheeseburgers. Yeah, so exciting times on the north side, and even though it may not translate quickly into wins, it hopefully will for the Cubs, and we'll just have to wait and see. I think it was probably the right move, and Theo Epstein said it right, and the fact that we had to choose: going to be loyal to Ricky Renteria, or are we going to be loyal to the organization? And I think they made a big statement and had to go after probably and arguably one of the best managers in all of baseball, and the timing seems to be right as they're starting to turn the corner, and we'll have to wait and see and scare Sam a little more as we move along.
What though? Joe Madden is a cool dude.
Yeah.
I mean,
he killed the press conference today.
Yeah.
And bought all the reporters a round of drinks afterwards, which was perfect.
Yeah, no, he's a cool guy, and even though I'm not going to necessarily be rooting for the Cubs, it's certainly gonna make things entertaining within the Chicago baseball scene.
Yeah, and he ended the press conference saying that the Hazelton way, a shot and a beer for everyone. So that's your guy when that's how he ends it. So that's how we're going to end it right here on Illini Drive. Our thanks to Wayne Randazzo from 670 The Score. Joined us earlier in the show, talk a little Joe Madden, and then Champaign Mayor Don Gerard and Will Gerard. Thank you guys for jumping on. We appreciate it.
Okay, thanks for having us. This was great.
Yeah, we look forward to bringing you guys back on again. So this has been another edition of Illini Drive on Champaign's Alternative, WPGU 107.1. Remember, this is your home on the way home for Illini Sports, and also our thanks to UPTV for putting us on the air and making us look pretty on TV. They re-air us every Wednesday at 9 p.m., so you guys can check that out in case you missed our show today or missed portions of it. UPTV's got it all for you. We'll put the podcast and everything up online, maybe a little delayed, as again, still having a few technical difficulties, but we'll get those up there for you as soon as we can. So, for Torrence, Sorrell, Steve Bourbon, Sam Sherman, Jeff Omer, who I think now is just lost. I don't think he's coming back.
And the intern.
Yes. So our thanks to everyone on the show. I'm Joey Gelman. Thank you for tuning in. We'll do it all again next week. Remember, you're listening to Champaign's Alternative, WPGU 107.1.